For thousands of years, we have told stories at campfires, at the dinner table, in books, movies, and now even online. We use stories to make sense of the world and of ourselves. But something has changed. Today, AI can write essays, poems, poetries, marketing campaigns, with even novels within a matter of seconds. But if something has never felt love, loss, grief, can it actually tell a story that actually means something? Today, we are joined by Elvira Bolat, a TEDx speaker, associate professor in digital marketing, to explore this question. AI can generate content, but can it actually tell a story? Before we start, I would like you to introduce yourself to me or to our audience, but I don't want you to mention your job.
I think I'm a curious person,
Okay, that's interesting.
creative,
Mhm.
although sometimes I question that, but I am creative person for sure. I once did this like a psychographic test where you
Okay,
need to choose shapes that your favorite and kind of order them, rank them in order.
right.
And I chose squiggle as my first favorite shape. And apparently, if you do that, you are more, lean towards creative mindset as opposed to analytical mindset.
Okay.
So I'm a very disorganized person, chaotic,
Yeah.
but still at the same time curious. And to be honest, the organization, it's something I learn, I guess, with the time. But in a nutshell, like I am interested in humans. I mean, I I like to understand how people think,
Mhm.
how they feel,
Mhm.
how they make decisions. And outside of this, to be honest, outside of things I do at work, I still love doing the same things, observing,
Right.
talking to youth, because I'm mom to two daughters. And anything that I not connected to my work, I like spending time with them and with my little puck. But even when I do spend with them time,
Mm.
I am always curious about their thoughts,
Yeah.
thinking, their ideas. And so in a nutshell, really, that curiosity just it surrounds me
Right.
every single day in anything I do in work or outside.
That's really nice because I remember the last episode I did, just I think it was last week.
Hmm.
We talked about curiosity the whole episode. And
Yeah.
I mean, because even the name of our channel is CuriousU. It's
Yes.
like, I believe it's in every one of us, but sometimes it's with a lot of things around the world. Like, there's so much things that we deal
Yeah.
with. We keep pushing it down. And then
Yes.
that's when we feel sort of dissatisfaction with ourselves. We feel like, oh, I mean, we are supposed to do something, but we are not doing it because of so many different things. And then once you start listening to your curiosity again, you feel like, oh, like this is it, because I'm actually happy now, because I'm exploring new things. It's so good.
But even little moments of
Yeah.
curiosity, like often, I mean, understandably, like today we
Yeah.
use AI,
Yeah.
obviously, and that's going to be topic of our conversation somehow.
Mhm.
But before we use search engines, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and then people use dictionaries. I remember when I was a little girl, if I ask a question from my mom, oh, what does that mean? She would
Right.
always say, go and study dictionary.
Dictionary.
There is a meaning of the word.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's the same thing. So when we even do AI prompts,
Hmm.
if you still question things and you don't just settle with one answer, but you
Right.
continue the conversation
Hmm.
and you kind of also maybe explore deeper,
Right.
like you build another question on top of your original question. That's what
Right.
curiosity is about, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's in the small things. Don't It doesn't have to be like the big question of the world, but it's small. It's the
Exactly.
little things like why does the plant turn yellow in different weathers? There's so many things, but it's just
Like
interesting.
nowadays, I don't know when the podcast will be out,
Okay.
but obviously everyone watched World Cup.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
kind of summer thing for 2026.
Yeah.
And actually, always, I watched World Cup for many, many times across decades. And the same question, what is offside?
Offside. Okay.
I still cannot get it. So, watch the game yesterday as well. And I still cannot understand, like, why at certain situation offside happens. Yeah. And that's being curious.
Right, exactly. I mean, I was a grassroots football coach back in India. So even when I started my career, if somebody asked me, can you define what offside is? And I always struggle. I know, like, practically how does it happen? But when you ask me to explain it, I have no idea how will I say it? Because there's so many technicalities. You miss one point and the whole definition is incorrect.
And also, I would assume behavior of people on the field, yes, sometimes can be very unpredictable. So potentially there are some novel scenarios occurring for whoever defines, if this is offside or not, where they probably building up on this new kind of list of dictionary or scenarios where, oh, this is also could be offside.
Right.
So it's fascinating because humans could do unpredictable things.
Exactly. Because I think because we are imperfect, we
Exactly.
like we come up with new things when the old thing stops working. And that's the best part about being human.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, this is a very interesting conversation. I can keep talking about it, but let's get back to our topic a little bit. So I want to start with I want to start with your TEDx talk, and I want you to tell us something about it. What did you say in that for a lot of people who haven't watched it yet? So they can go on the video. I'm going to put the link in my podcast for your video, and they're going to go and watch it. So would you tell us something about it before we get into the real conversation again?
I mean, the talk in the nutshell, to be honest, is this, I guess now, existential question about AI, use of AI and creativity, because obviously we live in the era where content can be produced at speed instantly, yes?
Right.
And in a way, we're entering slowly era of information abundance.
Right.
Because nowadays, stories, content, information can be created at such a big volume and at incredible speed, which we've never seen before. So, of course, many people ask questions, and my students, when I teach them and when I meet practitioners in marketing field, or even in any business field or any field that touches AI or integrates AI, the question is, oh, would AI replace humans? And actually, of course, there are different elements where potentially that replacement could happen, but a lot of people today ask question whether AI can replace human creativity. And that is, I think, fascinating question. Probably, I have my own understanding and answer, and potentially this answer might change next year or tomorrow, because things are evolving and we see differences. But of course, that's the question I wanted to highlight in my talk, because in reality, if you think about AI, it's just one type of technology that now we're dealing with. But humanity was dealing with technologies throughout history, and storytelling potentially. It's a fascinating field which remained quite human in nature. And of course, the question is in AI era, we still going to have storytelling as being human in its nature, or it's going to completely abolish as a human activity. And that's really what the talk was about, this questioning and historically reflecting on things that been done, in ancient times with Greeks, Greek philosophers, or even Shakespeare. And reality is, I guess, again, that's my interpretation, is that we as humans can use AI for sure. And AI can learn from us. can learn patterns of storytelling, can create amazing stories. But in reality, it doesn't happen in isolation just by AI. And the true meaningful stories need still require human input.
Right.
So, obviously, in my talk, I couldn't talk in detail about it, and it probably was more an intention to make people think a bit more, as opposed to constantly fear that
Right.
AI is there to take over our creative thinking. I guess, in a nutshell, my view is, it's up to us what would happen. Would we allow for stories to be a commodity, a standard thing where all the stories become just copy of one another? Or would we use this opportunity in current, evolution, to push ourselves to do something different and maybe distinguish what
Right.
actually true storytelling is about?
Yeah, it's really interesting as you say it, because as you say, the storytelling, even storytelling, has evolved from the ancient age to now. It's evolved so much, and what AI is doing is following our patterns from then, whatever information it has, from then to now. But what we're gonna do next, it's so unpredictable because we are humans. Even I don't think so. Even AI can reach up to that stage unless it has enough data on what we might do. And I don't know, it might be possible, I don't know, because it can look up to the like the old patterns, maybe make us something something new pattern, I don't know. But I'm thinking, because as we all know, we don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Right now we are in a stage of uncertainty, but as you said, it's up to us who decide what happen next.
And that is a beautiful stage, to be honest, because if you look at true stories, usually the stories that make us connected, they are the stories that emerge from that fear of unknown, uncertainty.
Right.
And I think that's where, the emotions perhaps also are better created or translated. Emotions, I don't know, of love, fear, grief.
Yeah.
I mean, AI, to be honest, can learn about those things and can learn to replicate those emotions, but still, it cannot really create meanings out of it.
Yeah.
So, in the process of storyteller, let's say using AI, we really need to think that if somebody just requests AI to create a story, and then they take the output as it is, yes, that
Yes.
potentially that's the AI produced output
Yeah.
that learned on the patterns, yeah. But in reality, I hope it doesn't end in this way, and there is always a reiteration, and there is still even input from the storyteller with maybe some kind of initial plot, some characters, and a lot of those should come from personal experiences. And then the storyteller can use AI tools to perfect language in reality, because what AI is good at right now is working with the text, generating content really based on what we're prompting. And it's fantastic. So it's editing in a way our thoughts, but
Right.
the thoughts and experiences are human thoughts and experiences. I was thinking, actually, I mean, in my TEDx, I spoke about Shakespeare.
Right.
And it's interesting because, in a nutshell, Shakespeare never really created original stories. A lot of this he borrowed from mythologies, from ancient philosophers, and the stories that, for instance, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
That is a story that was retold in Italian history multiple times before he picked up
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah,
I
that
didn't know about it.
narrative of love,
Okay.
and presented it in his own way. But his own way is still there. And of course, he's not a guy who is born in Verona,
Right.
but he took the experiences he observed around himself and positioned those experiences, in different contexts. and different time frame potentially.
Mhm.
So we still see his personal relationships, observations,
Right.
feelings, thoughts integrated in that story.
Right.
Which, of course, AI potentially, I
Mhm.
still argue that it doesn't have feelings, it
Mhm.
doesn't have experiences. Yes, AI's experiences are data, the
Mhm.
patterns.
Right.
So the more we feed, the more, so to speak, experiential it becomes, but that's a
Yeah.
different type
Right.
of experience. It's not
Yeah.
human experience, a lived experience. It's not.
Right. Right.
AI does not know what is grief. It knows
Exactly.
it from the stories and maybe information that we loaded in the past.
Right.
But it wouldn't have own way of
Mhm.
grieving or loving
Right.
or hating.
Mhm.
At least at this point, I don't know if there will be some, because even if AI can create new knowledge,
Mhm.
that knowledge is still based on patterns.
Exactly.
And we talk about information because AI is fueled by information, isn't it?
Right.
It's not fueled by emotions.
Mhm.
So I think that's probably the key difference, to be honest. I mean, going back to that question, again, I said that I was reflecting on this, how technology sort of changed
Right.
us as humans.
Yeah.
Okay, AI now is what we're dealing with. But if you go back to 19th century when photography came,
Mhm.
so imagine before everyone used fine art,
Yeah.
to, I don't know, to create a portrait of Mona Lisa,
Okay.
nobody could take a picture of their family. They were inviting the artist.
Yeah.
And for months, maybe even years, an artist was coming every day
Yeah.
and, documenting and kind of creating that masterpiece of a portrait or anything else. And then photography emerged.
Mhm.
Yeah. And did that stop fine art? No.
No.
It completely, if you think about it, reflecting on it, completely shifted the art. Because in the past, art was a form of capturing reality,
Mhm.
what photography does.
Does now. Yeah.
But later, art shifted to become something more expressionist.
Right.
That's where we've seen, I don't know, Malevich from Russia with his square pieces, or Picasso, all this kind of impressionist art where you look at it and it doesn't make sense. So really, we shifted to creation of a new form of art and human expressionism, which is so original, novel, and different. And then, of course, same happened with even music. I was reflecting actually,
Okay.
preparing for this talk. I was reflecting on that. Look, we have Spotify now,
Yeah.
streaming. Yeah, the
Yeah.
music is just flooding. Yeah, you
Mhm.
can access any artist.
Yeah.
I still remember the times when I either was buying the tunes in iTunes shop,
Yeah.
or I was downloading some files, or
Yeah.
I was converting
Right.
YouTube videos, music files into MP3 and then
Yeah.
loading them into my phone.
Yeah.
But look, we live in this kind of abundance era of songs, yeah?
Mhm.
But if you look at statistics, right now we are in the boom of live events, concerts.
Like
Right
yeah.
now,
Mhm.
people go buy tickets to concerts,
Yeah.
attend concerts like never before.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's fascinating. And what is the key difference is experience.
Mhm.
Because when you listen to the song on your phone, of course you're gonna have fun. It's
Yeah.
your artist, you connect. It's a
Yeah.
different experience.
Yeah.
But when you go to the live
Yeah.
concert,
I understand.
those memories,
Yeah.
and that accompanied by technology and content creation and capturing your stories on Instagram. Like it's fascinating how we value still that true life experience. And the same with COVID, when Zoom Teams emerged, now everyone is saying, wow, how important is face-to-face interaction.
Right.
Like how critical it is. I mean, didn't you know this before? But people just never had opportunity to reflect. And I think
Right.
this is what would happen with AI. You know, I was observing myself recently. My daughter received obviously many cards, which you can buy from the shop. And some people, the messages, even happy birthday, have a lovely day, already written. So the
Right.
only thing you need to do is just
Your name.
write your name.
Yeah.
And imagine with AI today, you can create, like, customize this
Yeah.
amazing card.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the cards she received was handwritten.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe even, I mean, the handwritten message was simple, to be honest.
Okay.
Not like poems, because, you can, with more maybe computer generated ones, you can put amazing poems inside, something personalized. But that simple handwritten arty card,
Okay.
what a joy it is, and the question of effort came. It's probably one of those human signals, actually, that we will start paying attention to more in future. How much effort was in producing something like this? Because in reality, to produce AI generated content, of course, less effort than someone doing it themselves. In fact, what you do yourself could be simpler version, like that card. It was very simple, simple words.
Yeah.
But because the effort clearly is more, someone took time to sit down,
Right.
cut out this piece, fold it, draw, honestly, it's not just going to the shop, buying it, scanning, and writing your name. That's where I guess you start valuing that perhaps this piece of creation more authentic, because there is more effort from the human.
I mean, you're talking about a lot of things, and it's very interesting the way you're talking about it. But it opens up a lot of avenues for me to like
Yeah.
move the conversation into. It's really interesting. I love it. I love having this conversation. But there's so many things that you mentioned. Let me talk about them a little bit more. As you said, like, let's start with the artists and the paintings and stuff.
Yeah.
So as you said, we are into a era where you can just take pictures. You like you're recording the moment. Okay. Back then we used to do it, but now you said it's now more premium. People would pay more money to get their portrait done rather than having a picture taken.
Exactly.
It's because, so that clearly states that it's not going to replace a lot of things. As we say, I will take this, like a photo cameras doesn't replace the artist. They're still doing it, but they're doing it for even more money, or even
Yeah.
with more interest, because now they don't have to
Absolutely.
do hundreds of portraits. They can just do one and then actually feel good about it. Yeah, that's so good. And as you also said about the storytellers or the writers writing the story, using AI as a collaborative assistant rather than asking them to just write the story and then just use it somewhere. Because as you said, the emotions is something the AI could never feel
No.
as much as we know until now.
Yeah.
And it's, as you say, because I this is what I feel, because I use AI in my content creation, my script writing, in everything. But every time I put in my emotions into it, I was like, I want something that feels this. I want to feel this while I write this. At the end, when I get something, it's so flat. I feel like, I put so much emotions into it. I can see the words, whatever I said,
Yeah.
but then it just feels so flat because it's not coming from a human.
Yeah.
Because if I say something and a robot says something back to me, the difference between how what I say, because it comes out of my emotion, my grief, my love, the way I talk to people, so many different things. But from AI, it's gonna be automated messages. And that's what
Absolutely.
it says, personalization. That's when personalization comes into thing.
Yeah.
Because uh, if I call somebody and say, okay, I would like to wish you a very happy birthday. I'm very sorry, I can't be with you, whatever. And then you just send like a message from AI. Can you draft a message for my friend to whose birthday I couldn't be? And I just send it. And nowadays you can actually tell if it's been written by AI or it's a
Oh,
human.
totally.
It's really like,
Totally.
yeah. And then people can tell if it's, it doesn't, there's no intention of you
Yeah.
being putting into your efforts into it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, to be honest, look, I'm always kind of think, let's say in Outlook, yeah, when you use email
Yeah.
communication, there is a function to use like AI to automatically respond to
Hmm.
emails.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people nowadays use AI in general to craft their emails, especially, for instance, handy for me because sometimes I can be very direct.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to just say it as it is. And of course, when you operate in cross-cultural context, you need to be mindful
Right.
of
Yeah.
not hurting people's feelings. So there is a good in it, but
Mm-hmm.
same time I realize, honestly, AI completely cannot translate my personality into
Exactly.
responses.
Yeah.
So in the end, what happens is you end up editing it.
Hmm.
So, of course, I still consider that it's my response.
Right.
AI helped me to filter some
Right.
angles, yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of make them
Mm-hmm.
softer
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I don't get into conflict. But at the same time, it's important to edit. Of course, potentially there could be a risk that it's quite attractive
Mm-hmm.
to automate some tasks
Right.
and completely rely on AI. But personally, from this even small experience, I realize it's very important for me to be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just let, maybe create set of tasks and rules for AI to do automated replies to certain group of individuals,
Right.
I feel like that's going to lead to some troubles potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely will strip my authenticity
Mm-hmm.
and I will lose that power, that control feeling,
Mm-hmm.
that before I press button send, I actually checked what's written. I think that's the key thing potentially. Um, I don't know. We
Yeah.
just drifted to that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Because as you said, we have to have I mean, we have to work with AI, because
Yeah,
if you don't work with AI, you will be left out, because the whole world is working with AI. You have to work with it, but then you have to be mindful of how much you giving it to AI and what you want it to do, and don't just
exactly.
like hand everything
Yeah.
to him, or like to the AI basically. Yeah.
Because, like I mentioned, AI in a nutshell is editor.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You input first prompt, first information.
Mm.
I know AI can generate stories as well,
Right.
but a lot of these stories follow the same principles and
Mhm.
patterns built in other stories. And of course, slowly, if everyone will start building the same stories, I mean, as you said, we now
Yeah.
can spot which one is AI written
Yeah.
social media post and
Yeah.
which one is
Yeah.
not. Because we as humans, I mean, there
Mhm.
is this fear in consumer psychology, although it's psychology theory about signaling. They talk about how we as human beings always look for signals related to authenticity.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we look
I get
at
it.
clues and kind of some
Mm.
patterns that allows us to determine if something is human behavior or not.
Right.
So I think that's what we're looking at nowadays. And one example of signaling will be flaws.
Mhm.
Because if you think of AI generated content, it's just perfect. flawless, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
at least grammatically. Yeah, maybe
Mm-hmm.
historically there are some caveats in the storyline,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but although I don't think AI can do those caveats without human input,
Right.
or it will build the stories based on traditional, like let's say Shakespeare like pattern. Yeah, it will
Mm-hmm.
learn from the patterns and all the stories and will
Yeah.
create a plot that just follows the same line, introduction of
Right.
characters, some kind of moment, then there is a
Yeah.
culmination.
Yeah.
But this is the point, I guess, that we as humans are, we not perfect, we have
Yeah.
imperfections.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if we dive deep into these feelings and thoughts, integrate this in ideas we use for AI, then we start creating much more interesting, novel type of narratives that we haven't seen before.
Right.
And that, I guess, in a sense, as much as people fear I think what AI gives us is a chance to push ourselves further, potentially,
Mm-hmm.
to really reflect what is truly human.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we
Mm-hmm.
never talk about a lot about imperfections. But now, actually, because nowadays people start saying, oh, how would I identify what is human and what is AI? So this conversation, we never had this before.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because as much as some kids, probably little kids, will say, what is this silly question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating how we as a humanity now really going deep into philosophical question which we should answer.
Right.
What is really to be a human? And being
Mm-hmm.
human, to me at least, and with that narrative, is imperfection.
Right.
Because no one is perfect. There is another theory. I forgot the name of this phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
but they've done the experiments in psychology where basically there was a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
They recorded the video of a person who was talking, providing information about random phenomenon, and the people were in the lab had to evaluate and rate those candidates. So one of the
Mm-hmm.
candidates, it was already told to the evaluators that he is expert.
Mm-hmm.
So in one video, this person created perfect script of the answer.
Mm-hmm.
In the another video, this person who is also expert was making kind of little baffling things, like where he wasn't sure what he's talking about. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a third person, and that third person was told to be not expert.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just perfect random kind of narrative in the video. The most highly rated person in this experiment was the one who was already highlighted as expert,
Mm-hmm.
and the one who made mistakes, or like it
Okay.
wasn't a perfect speech.
Right.
So it's clear we like someone who is expert, but also someone who is not perfect. So
Right.
expert but not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So that means clearly the fully polished AI content
Mm-hmm.
is something we psychologically cannot really resonate with.
Right.
We already treat it as
100%.
inauthentic.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You're
And
right.
then when there is a content that maybe appears with a little imperfections, we think, oh, maybe there is some human input.
Mm-hmm.
Today, to be honest, AI, of course, can learn also to imitate imperfections.
Right.
And I guess as we start feeding those ideas, AI will start learning deeper what
Mm-hmm.
are the human clues and signals.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, that will push us further to think, okay, what's other things? And experience, I mean, thinking about it, again, going back to Shakespeare, something I highlighted, the stories of Hamlet, I don't know, Romeo and Juliet. He didn't live in those times. He didn't, like Shakespeare wasn't a Danish prince, He didn't deal
Yeah.
with the situations,
Yeah.
but he brought inside stories of, I don't know, love, yes, passion, grief, ambition, yeah, power, hungry for power. That's
Right.
something he observed in his own communities.
Right.
And he brought that in just a different kind of embellishment, isn't it? So there is embodied experience, Shakespeare's experience in those stories still.
Right.
And I think that's the key. AI doesn't have experience, it has patterns, information, and knowledge. But humans have experiences, and then they can create unexpected narratives and plots using those experiences.
That's very interesting, to be honest. Very interesting. 'Cause as you say,
Yeah,
humans are imperfect. Like that's why we connect with those stories, because those stories are imperfect, just like us. We resonate with them. It's
yeah,
so beautiful. And as you say, we're going into more of a philosophical side of, because now we are not spending too much time doing the things we do. Now, if we don't have anything to do, we do move towards the philosophical side, like
yeah,
what is human, as you say about the Zoom meeting and things. Because before we didn't value the our in-person meeting as much as we do now.
yes.
Well, it's, I think it's making us better humans as of now. I don't know what the future holds,
Yeah,
but I think it's good for us if we do it the right way.
definitely. And
Yeah.
look at how politically, even, yeah, or worldwide, we're seeing changes.
Hmm.
For instance, in regards to feelings and attitudes towards social media and phone usage amongst young people.
Yeah.
So you're probably aware, let's say in UK, they're going to introduce social media ban in
Yeah.
April 27. In Europe, many countries already shifted towards it. And potentially, I mean, as much as I'm not big fan of that ban, and that's a different topic, but in a nutshell, potentially this kind of shifts will lead back to the experiences. So what we're trying to do, I guess, with these little tweaks is to make sure that young people from beginning
Right.
have opportunity to build these human-like emotional experiences, learn how to navigate a map instead of GPS on their phone, how to talk with people as opposed to just sending messages, how to take pictures on a normal camera
Yeah.
and without editing immediately as we do it on our phones, how to, I guess, live in the moment potentially.
Exactly.
So it does make us think, as much as we think, oh, technology is there to completely ruin what we have, but in reality, what it does, it perhaps pushes us to reconnect what is truly human,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
because
Very fascinating as
yeah,
well.
it's interesting
Yeah.
because like have ever people had a digital detox conversation before? No. But now,
Exactly.
and in fact, let's say when the industrial revolution happened, yes, people didn't maybe have phones, but they had cars. Yes, driving in a car, listening to songs. So a lot of technological things, not just phones or social media, that were instrumental in how we behave, but the more sophisticated and advanced technology became, the more we started thinking, okay, how do we take some time off? How do we reconnect with nature? How do we, do what is truly human like?
That's interesting. Yeah, I love it.
I've
I love
seen
the way
many
you say.
people,
Yeah.
I've seen many people recently started writing books by writing.
Mm-hmm.
If it, obviously, this is not a simple shift. And a lot of young people, actually. And why? Because they want to have this moment of idea generation and creation before they maybe go and use tools to polish their language
Right.
words, and the way you present the text, which AI can do, and it's amazing to be honest. But they want to first think about the ideas without involvement of technology. So there are some great things happening. Like potentially, the question is how we just look at it, because often when technology like this emerging, we are very critical, potentially negative, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it happened to when the phones were introduced. It was the same.
Exactly.
Internet was introduced. Was the same. But now it's so.
And look what's happening now. Like nowadays, even like amongst branding content, like some people say, oh, so many companies produce campaigns like this in 3 seconds, using Grok, you can create 20-second video instantly and variations of it.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but people do not really connect with that kind of content, isn't it?
Exactly.
They connect with, I don't know, backstage videos, backstage stories.
There you go, right.
So like a video that's maybe shot on just a phone camera.
Yeah.
People can see it, and that's what they perceive as authentic. So I guess it's a combination. We need to combine those elements and ensure that you don't just completely rely on synthetic media.
Right. That's what I'm actually seeing. So on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere whatever I use, even on YouTube. So I see everybody has the same story. This like all the stories sound so similar to each other. Like how do you differentiate your brand with any other brand within the same genre or a sector? It's so same, but as you said, I think it's a phase where we just doing it and then we realize it's not gonna work, so we're coming back to more of a collaborative thing rather than just letting the AI do it.
Because look, there's two elements: information that feeds into story. And of course, if we just purely use information as facts, AI, for instance, will use the same rules and principles based on past stories. But narrative is a different element. And working with narrative, tweaking it, creating unexpected angles, emotions. That's something humans have to do. I mean, the classic example, probably, I hope it's allowed to mention brands like Coca-Cola campaign.
Yeah.
Like in the past Christmas, obviously, Coca-Cola, potentially, I mean, many people accuse it not making too much effort. They just did purely AI-generated video.
Yeah.
It was in the same classic Coca-Cola style, but it was truly visible that it is AI. And of course, people were wondering, how come such large company, which prides itself in these Christmas commercials, people are waiting every year for it to be released and see what's the story. How come they didn't put a lot of effort? But then the same company, Coca-Cola, about 2 years ago, did another AI generated content where it wasn't pure AI. They used a lot of AI artists to create it, and it was set in Louvre museum where classical pieces of art integrated Coca-Cola in their narrative.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
It's a completely different experience because in there you suddenly see a different campaign with something you didn't see Coca-Cola doing before, and you think, oh, how different, how cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
And you don't think it's AI. Yes, there are a lot of animations, visual kind of visual effects. You ignore it. You just think, okay, it's humans. We're part of it. So it's two different outputs. And I guess we clearly see where these two forces, human and AI, connect. That's where the beauty can happen,
100%. The way you were telling me about these two different brand campaigns, I was literally feeling so much like positivity towards the other one. I was like, yeah, that's so beautiful. But this one, they just put an AI. But
Yeah.
as I said again, I think we are still figuring it out because
Yeah.
it's a new thing. Everybody wants to try it. They
Yeah.
wants to see, oh, what will happen if I just do it.
Yeah.
Because not everybody wants to put in as much effort into everything. Of course, you have to do it, but
Effort.
yeah, exactly. And then they're doing it, and then they're actually realizing. Because when I started, let's say my LinkedIn channel, my Facebook, my YouTube, whatever, I I don't want to spend too much time doing the boring stuff. I was like, just ask AI to do it, write it for
Mm-hmm.
me, paste it, copy, and then when I'm interacting again and again within the same community, I feel like my content feels so unreal compared to all the other ones, because I can see other people, I can actually feel whatever they want to say, while mine is so flat. And it's a real experience. I've done it. And then I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't want to be like this. Every time I send someone a script, I feel like there is nothing in it,
Yeah.
because it's all the AI generated thing. And then what I do actually now, I literally write all the questions by pen. I
Yeah.
take ideas from AI, I do this, and then I write it down. Or like, because then actually using my thinking as well. Okay, why do I ask this question? What's the intention behind asking this question? But when AI asks me something, okay, just ask the same questions.
But you see, but even in that scenario, if let's say you used
Yeah,
AI
yeah,
generated plot, yeah,
yeah.
the conversation, I mean, this is, I guess, the beauty of podcast as well, is that conversation can go into different directions.
Exactly.
And you see, AI could never potentially predict
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So it's like a safety net there for you to be prepared, maybe to feel more confident.
Yeah.
But then the magic, let's say, happens in that
Yeah.
moment still.
That's right.
And you still make an effort. And I think that's important. I mean, in any type of podcast, unless they're using computer generated host
Nah, I mean, yeah,
and
I get it.
computer generated voices
Yes.
potentially, which
Right.
some people do, especially with podcasts that are just focusing on voice. Even what they do is create novel voices, AI voices, and nowadays technology is so advanced. Even we have AI artists, isn't it?
Right.
In Russia, in fact, that's where I'm from. It's a boom. There are so many AI musicians, actresses, actors emerging. But the magical type of creations that I observed is the ones where they integrate this AI artist with the human artist, and it becomes quite novel kind of composition, a
Right.
song or style of music, quite unbelievable, in fact. And you think, wow, this is beautiful. It allows you, first of all, of course, to save costs, but the intention wasn't the cost. The intention was potentially to do something different, creative. And I mean, effort is the key. And I think right now we don't yet have that, I wouldn't say culture, but even expectation, or even legally. European Union obviously have AI Act, which they're shaping now. And it's a great starting point, I think. But we probably will start demanding, as human beings, some kind of insights into traces of content and its origin. I looked up in the dictionary, there is this word called provenance.
Provenance.
And apparently, what it means, it's tracing the origin of something. So, in perfect everyday example would be like how we today pick up, I don't know, a product in a supermarket, and we look at labeling and we can see, oh, this product has those ingredients. Some of those ingredients came from this country or this part of the world. So, and nowadays there are also smart labels, isn't it, where you just scan QR code and you can see, oh, where it came from, the life, the shelf life, everything.
Yeah.
We see a lot of this happening slowly in fashion as well, where we see, okay, this cotton came from that country, and then the garment was produced in another country, and then it was supplied by another country. So that, I think, we will end up seeing some kind of traceability, I don't know how to call it, authenticity, tracing kind of authenticity economy labeling, where for every piece of content, we might see entire story and details of what effort was done by humans and what effort were inputted by AI, potentially.
Right.
I don't know how it will look like. I'm just envisioning it could be that this person spent that much time on drafting something, or maybe there will be list of things that the human did and list of things that AI did, and maybe
Right.
I don't know, some time frames as well, potentially. But that is something probably we will see, because research shows that people do not they don't completely oppose AI generated marketing, for instance. They are okay with it as long as it's acknowledged. As long as you said, okay, this is AI generated, or in production of this film we used AI music. For instance, recently I attended this amazing conference on digital harms, and research community. There were also practitioners from various organizations talking about how they deal with digital harms. It could be, I don't know, gambling. It could be exposure of young people to harmful content. So there was one colleague, he owns agency in Colombia. And he was talking about campaign they did, educational campaign, to prevent young people be interested in joining drug gangs in Colombia, because it's a huge issue. Young people want, there is poverty in that country. Of course, the economy of the country is struggling, and probably those who do drug tradings, etc., are in more fortunate, economically fortunate situation. But it's a terrible, because a lot of these gangs are grooming young people. So obviously what he was dealing with, he thought, what do I do now to take these young people to a different side? And of course, storytelling was important. He needed to tell stories, maybe of young people who were in such gangs, and maybe they had terrible life as a consequence. Maybe of people who ended up not joining the gangs and what that meant for them. So in some of the things, they adopted social media approach. They created Instagram account, and they did a lot of their own production filming. But they also relied heavily on AI to generate some visuals. Why? First of all, for safety. They didn't want to use real people's faces because they didn't want to jeopardize their safety.
Right.
So AI was fantastic because you could create people, or computer generated actors
Right.
who are not humans, and you wouldn't worry then about their safety. But the stories, the narratives that these generated actors were telling were human stories, real people stories, So how fascinating is that now we can tell such stories without potentially anymore thinking of safety.
Very
And then in that moment, when you watch that video, I've seen it, because it's not blurring the face or, computerizing the voice, it looks more authentic as well. So there was a disclosure statement that, AI
Yeah.
was used to produce this
Right.
content, but you still could believe, trust, because the words
Were
were so
humans. Yeah.
emotional and
Mm.
so, they had real human experiences.
Mm. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I have one question for you. Like, what is your favorite story, and why do you think it's your favorite? Doesn't have. It could be a movie. It could be a book. It could be a story your parents told you. It could be a story your grandmom tell
I
you or
was
something.
actually talking with my daughters
Yeah.
about it recently because yesterday we watched movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, God, I forgot the movie. Right now it's top in Netflix. Speak No Evil.
Speak novel. Okay.
It was a roller coaster.
What was it? Okay.
I mean, it's a classic thriller,
Okay.
about a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my favorite story, but just to tell you, but the storyline, it's not your classical serial killer story.
Okay.
Because usually serial killer will operate online, so not online, alone,
Yeah.
alone,
Mm-hmm.
will have some kind of, yeah, and I think that operating alone is a very classic plot that we see in many
Yeah.
thrillers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah? But this one is different. This killer has accomplice, like a family even. He's married to a lady. And then there is a friend. And they are all in it together. I mean, the reason I think why this movie kept me on my toes, honestly, I could not sit
Yeah.
and watch it without standing
Mm-hmm.
because it just was so real and unexpected, not what I
Right.
normally expect.
Mm.
So that's what human life is about.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes things can go ways that you haven't been told before.
Right.
And that was fascinating. So clearly whoever produced that script,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they used AI.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they used AI to think of something that's not how things were done before. But
Right.
I can see input from the human
Mm.
in that for sure.
So-
My favorite story, actually, again, answering your
Yeah. Yeah.
question, and we talked about it with my daughters,
Yeah.
a classic probably story movie, Forrest Gump,
Okay. Yeah. I love that movie.
packed with so much. And my daughter was asking, is this really based on true story? I said, yeah.
Mm.
To be honest, yeah. And I said, you know what? I thought about myself. I mean, of course, Forrest
Yeah.
is incredible
Mm-hmm.
man
Yeah.
and lived through decades and been part of all these extraordinary events,
Mm-hmm.
It's like you think, wow, how? But I started reflecting on my own story and I thought, but I've been through so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was telling me, you were born, honestly, like when you talk about how you were born and where you were born, it's remarkable. I said, yeah, I was born in a country that doesn't exist. Like in my passport, there is a birth country, is a country that no longer exists,
Exists.
USSR.
Mm. Soviet Union.
Yeah. So, and then of course, my experiences of being, I've been through the part where it's sort of still Soviet Union, but then it's transition
Mm-hmm.
to collapse
Right.
because I was born exactly on the year of collapse. But then it's not like Soviet Union traces disappeared immediately.
Mm-hmm.
People
Exactly.
still
Yeah.
live through the same culture.
Right.
But then slowly, slowly, the country opens up to the Western world and it's a different life
Yeah.
experiences
Right.
altogether.
Yeah.
And all these ups and downs. And then, of course, after 90s is 2000s and internet. I mean, I remember myself not knowing what is technology at all, then seeing huge, big personal computer device in my mom's office, which people couldn't carry even. And the interface in schools, they used to teach us computer language, and it was so ridiculous. And now, I mean, now I'm seeing how Claude
Yeah.
is organizing couple of input, textual input into beautiful microsite HTML coded pages with visuals, and you know, you think,
Yeah.
wow, you know, my story potentially is a Forrest Gump story as
Yeah.
well. And as much as his stories sound surreal, because that's why my daughter said, is this real, mommy?
Mm-hmm.
It is real.
Yeah.
You know, people live and experience such moments which AI can't. And all these stories in Forrest Gump, they were connected to very important events in the history of US, but they were his stories, you know?
Right.
And AI could not do that. Yes, there was a link with the, you know, war with Vietnam, you know, new presidents, like multiple presidents, in fact, in his time frame. But it was always through his personal perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's beautiful. Because you see a history unfolded through someone's eyes, and it becomes more memorable. In fact, you know, reading maybe a history book with facts is not as impactful as watching that movie, because then
Exactly.
you can create meaning. You're like, oh, that's what it meant for humans
Right.
at the time, you know? The war happened, and that's how it affected real people. It's not
Exactly.
just anymore how many people died,
Yeah.
who won this war, but actually how it impacted real people.
Exactly. I mean, the way you were telling me about the movie, the movie you watched yesterday, the movie Forrest Gump, and the whole story, the warmth I feel coming out of you was way different when we're talking about intellectual stuff. See,
Yeah.
like that's the difference between, I would say, like maybe AI and human, because we, even with those words, whatever you're
Yeah.
saying, I'm getting goosebumps. Or like, oh, I know
Because
what
it's
she's talking about.
experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
You watched it,
Yeah.
and maybe now someone watching us on this podcast will think, oh, I never seen Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Let me see it. And again, maybe AI now could create such story, you know,
Maybe.
such script, because of course Forrest Gump is there already.
Yeah.
But could it create Forrest Gump story for current times without our input? I doubt it. It's very important to have that
It
personal
is.
perspective.
It is. It's very interesting. I love this conversation, the way it's going. Okay, so well, the reason I asked you about why you which is your favorite story and why is
Yeah.
it, is to just get these glimpse out of it, like why is it your favorite story? And then
Yeah.
you said it's the experience. And I believe movies, stories, I mean, we read books, we watch movies. Why do we watch it? Because I think we want to get away from what we are living right now and to see something else, or like, because with us when we live, we are too much crowded by what's happening right now with, let's say, what I might be going through a heartbreak, I might have lost someone close to me, all sort of things. You're always in a
Yes.
box. But when you go out, read a book, watch a movie, you see like, okay, and now then you reflect that back into your own life, like as you said, because you didn't realize your life was more like Forrest Gump unless you
Yeah.
watched Forrest Gump,
Yeah.
because then it helps you to take a look back at yourself, look at you from a different perspective, and you're not too zoomed in into your own very small little problems in your life.
But
That's beautiful.
also, you know, we live in the era of self-doubt. Like, you know, people deal with mental health issues. A lot of it is about exposure to, I mean, very polished lives online and content, and the comparison natural to people. I think there is not a lot often we see failures being discussed or celebrated even.
Right.
So I think potentially what happens through watching other stories, we end up understanding that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not always be right.
Right.
We because no matter what story, it could be a horror movie, it could be sci-fi, something that would happen, I don't know,
Yeah.
in 100 years time, the emotions are still the same. The love story, yeah, the ambitions, the competition, the human nature of conquering things,
Yeah.
the same things in every single story. That's something you can't take away. So I guess it allows us to resonate, to maybe learn new perspective potentially, and also historically to see, how people did that. So it's sort of like a act of self-therapy potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't only watch it, you live their life. So if you watch Forrest
Yeah.
Gump, you live his life throughout the movie. Because as you said,
And this is, by the way, this is very important actually, because, okay, not all of us, we're not anymore going to live his life.
yeah,
Because
definitely
he
not.
lived in different era. But watching through his eyes those moments
Yeah.
is so important for us, because then we understand history, isn't it? In order to carry on in future.
Yeah, and that helps you gain a lot of things like sympathy, empathy, and
Exactly.
yeah, you learn so much. Just so I remember, I used to follow a channel a long time ago which says movies change perspective.
Yeah.
And then they used to recommend movies every week, or like, okay, you look at this movie and find out, like, because you can't live all the experience in this life.
Yeah.
So you lived other people's experience to see, okay, that's beautiful. Does people live like this? Like,
When I teach strategy in business, marketing strategy, I sometimes, especially if students need to do exam and they struggle to remember all the theories and frameworks, I always say, guys, you can find a metaphor for anything. And in fact, for strategy, the best metaphorical, way to look at all these frameworks is movies about prison. Because when someone becomes imprisoned, they are in a system that's very confined and they need to survive. And in order to survive, they need to have resources. And in different contexts or different movies that I talk to them about, and they never watch those movies, which is, you think, guys, you need to watch this, because it's not like I'm encouraging you to invest yourself into prison culture.
Yeah, of course.
But you learn so much about human behavior. Like one movie that I recommend to them always is Midnight Express.
Midnight Express.
Yeah. It's a movie based on a true story. So it's a book, it's based on a book. And this man who wrote the book, he was imprisoned in Istanbul. He's an American guy who ended up having some drugs in his in possession. When he was leaving Turkey, Istanbul, obviously they found the drugs, and it was a very horrible crime at the time. I don't know how it is now in Turkey. And this guy was locked in a prison, a very famous prison, in fact. I forgot the name of that prison, but it's in Istanbul. And right now, in the place where the prison was built in the past, now there is a Four Seasons famous hotel in Istanbul. So what is fascinating, I think it was 1970s or 80s, I don't remember exactly the time.
Yeah.
But he's American guy, he doesn't speak Turkish. He's in Turkish prison. There are some foreign guys similar like to him, ended up being
Being
locked.
there, yeah.
But look how language in that environment becomes a key resource to survive. And he ends up learning the language. Because if you want to survive, you have to accumulate that
Yeah.
resource.
You have to adopt as well.
Exactly. And that's what in strategy is important. As a company, if you are a business and you want to survive, you need to start thinking which resources you need to have in order to sustain your business as your competitors. And then you start thinking, what resource do I need to win over competition? So obviously that guy, he escaped from that prison. That's why it's called Midnight Express, because he ended up escaping and catching a train, because there was a train station just nearby the prison. And it's fascinating, of course, when you talk to students about this storytelling.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they connect theory better. They think, oh, now it makes sense. Because, of course, at the time when they come to university, often they don't have lived experience.
Right.
They never had a business. Yes,
Yeah.
they know Nike, they know Apple, and all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
amazing companies, but they know them as customers.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot understand why did Apple, focus on innovation as their key competitive advantage.
Exactly. I mean, you were telling me this story. It reminds me of Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if you have seen that
Yes,
movie.
yes, of
It's,
course.
it's
Of
just,
course. That's
I know, it's
another
like,
famous
yeah.
movie. And there are, to be honest, there are so many of them, which, if you look at them, they are all about the same narrative.
Yes.
But still, it's nice to watch all of them because
Yes.
still they have
They're
different story.
same but different. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, there is one song in one of my favorite movies. It's one of the Bollywood movies. It's talks about like how all the stories are same, but how they're still different.
Oh, look, I
Yeah.
watch Bollywood. I mean, it could be because my mom, Soviet Union, that time we
Yeah.
had good relationships with
Yeah.
India. My mom growing up was obsessed with Bollywood. So I watched all the classics.
Yeah.
But then, to be honest, it didn't stop on it because, I started liking some actresses like Aishwarya Rai, etc. And of course, now on Netflix, you can watch amazing films. And it's interesting because, of course, Bollywood movies often have key ingredients, like the dancing,
Yeah.
this kind of love story. Then, like, there is always kind of same narrative.
Yeah.
But there are some films which are quite unexpected. I don't know, one that comes to my mind, I don't remember the name, but it's with Aishwarya Rai, where she plays a widow, and this movie I think got some kind of award in Cannes festival.
Okay.
There is no singing in that movie. It's not a classic Bollywood plot. But how strong is the story, because obviously that's where you end up learning about Hindu culture and what it means to be a widow.
I understand.
Yes. And she basically, how usually widows have to take all these sacrifices. Like you have to dress in certain way, you can't eat, you can only eat certain food. But that lady, the character in the movie, she ends up breaking all these rules. Because she doesn't want, just because she lost her husband, she doesn't want to stop her life. She's a young widow.
Yeah.
So that movie is such a, and after that I started realizing, wow, why we all think Bollywood is this. It's not actually, in fact, and then I started exploring and seeing other movies
Yeah.
having completely different angle.
Yeah, I mean, we do stereotype things. So if I see
Exactly.
something, if I met somebody from a certain country and I didn't like the way he talks to me, I'd be like, all the countrymen are like this.
Yes,
We just
yes,
stereotype.
yeah.
This is human nature. But
Totally.
yeah, as you said, you explored and you found like a lot more interesting movies.
But that movie was fascinating because I guess it was so deep in story. And look, again, they are talking about Hinduism as religion, yeah? So is Hinduism religion? Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
so,
religion.
because I'm not like
Yeah.
expert in this.
Mm-hmm.
And through her experience, through her own perspective, they are bringing this point in a different light.
Right. Yeah.
And it's fascinating because you learn about the religion itself, but you also learn it through another person's story.
Exactly.
Like we as
Yes.
humans create these different narratives.
Exactly.
Because I was reading actually a while ago about how we as humans have two ways of thinking: logical thinking and narrative thinking. And actually, this goes back to how we, interpret movies.
Yeah.
Because logical thinking is about facts. So even like when you in the beginning ask me, oh, don't tell me what your
Yeah, your
job
job
is.
is.
Because usually that's the key thing people say: facts. I am this, I'm that. But then narrative thinking is more about the story of me and me telling from my perspective who I am as a human being. And usually narrative thinking requires storytelling. Sometimes it could be a bit of embellished,
Right, right.
but that is a beautiful thing, which obviously AI is not always good at unless you prompt it properly. Because AI will give you facts.
Yes. But still, it's not lived experience again. I mean,
No,
it can come close to it, but right now
no.
we are far away from it.
And of course, in order to create something unpredictable or maybe
Yeah.
different, AI probably would struggle, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We were about to do something really interesting. I gave my guest 3 pieces of writing, and the challenge was simple. She needs to identify which one is written by AI and which one is written by human. Unfortunately, our recording stopped. So rather than doing it all over again, I'm passing the challenge over to you guys. I'm going to read out all the 3 writings, and you got to tell me which one is written by humans and which one is written by AI. The first one is: I was 19 when I missed the last train home after a concert in London. I had spent most of the evening worried about getting home. So I finally walked onto the platform and saw the train leaving. I just stopped there staring at it. My phone was at 8% charge. I had £6 in my account, and I remember thinking, how did I manage to make such a simple thing so difficult? I called mom, expecting her to be angry. Instead, she laughed and said, well, you're not the first person to miss the train. I ended up taking a night bus and didn't get home until nearly 3 a.m. Nothing dramatic happened that night. I didn't have some life changing experience, but I remember it because it was probably the first time I realized that most of the things I panic about eventually become just another story. Now, whenever something goes wrong, I think about the train leaving the station. The next story is: I am a school teacher and it was my last day teaching at my school. At the end of my final lesson, the other teacher brought in all the classes that I had been teaching that year, around 100 students, and they all thanked me for supporting them throughout the year. They handed me gifts and cards to show their appreciation. The best part for me, though, was when a child ran up to me and gave me a hug, telling me that he was going to miss me and asked if I was coming back. Another saw this happen and ran up to me and did the same. Even after a massive celebration, a simple hug was still one of the best moments. And the third story is basically the feeling of making someone comfortable in their own skin when they naturally aren't. I have mentally been through quite a bit, and it's taken years to figure out how to heal in such a way that my brain isn't looping over negativity. Life has a purpose. I want to build something in life that outlives me. Think about how people usually die. You get remembered for a month or two, then people slowly forget you. I want to be remembered for significance. Someone who could inspire others to believe in bigger things, to work harder, and to just genuinely become the best version of themselves. Comment 1, 2, or 3, and I'll reveal the answer in the comment section.